I'm going off.
Now we're starting shooting. Look at Miss Regina.
Barron Trump is 6'9", taller than his dad. But did you know there are rare moments where he completely steals the spotlight? Let's dive into the top 5 times Barron made headlines with Donald and Melania. Number 5. Barron's first ballot. Imagine casting your very first vote. Now, imagine doing it for your father in one of the most controversial elections in history. That's exactly what Barron Trump did in 2024, and the moment was anything but ordinary. From the behind-the-scenes family dynamics to the media frenzy, this was a milestone packed with intrigue, legacy, and a rare glimpse into Barron's personal beliefs. For years, Barron Trump had remained an enigma. Unlike his older siblings, Donald Jr., Ivanka, and Eric, he stayed out of the political spotlight. No fiery speeches, no business deals on the front pages. Just a quiet life at Mar-a-Lago and school. But in November 2024, everything changed. Turning 18 years old meant one thing: Barron Trump was finally eligible to vote. And his first ever ballot wasn't just any vote, it was for his father, Donald Trump, who was making a historic comeback bid for the presidency. Melania Trump proudly shared a rare behind-the-scenes photo revealing Barron at the polling station placing his ballot into the machine. She captioned it, "Voted for the first time for his dad, so proud." That one photo sent shockwaves through social media. While it was expected that Barron would vote for his father, the timing and circumstances made it controversial. Donald Trump's 2024 presidential run was one of the most heated in modern history. Legal battles, protests, and constant media scrutiny surrounded his campaign. Barron, who had never publicly expressed his political opinions, was now stepping directly into the storm. Many speculated, was this his personal choice or a family expectation? Would he ever publicly speak out about his political beliefs? Would he break his silence on growing up in the most powerful family in America? While Barron himself never addressed the media, close sources revealed that he had been more involved than people realized. Insiders from Trump's campaign suggested that Barron had privately advised his father on how to connect with younger voters. "He understands the Gen Z mindset better than anyone in the family," a source close to the campaign stated. He told his dad to appear on more podcasts and social media channels instead of traditional media. He actually had some really smart ideas. As soon as the voting photos surfaced, news outlets exploded. Everyone wanted to analyze what Barron's first vote meant.
The amount of articles talking about Barron is the reason why Trump got elected because of all the podcasts.
Oh, is that what they're saying?
Yeah.
The New York Post ran the headline, "Barron Trump votes for dad in first ever ballot, a new political force?" Meanwhile, critics on social media argued that Barron had no choice. Was he really free to vote how he wanted, or was it just another Trump family tradition? One Twitter user questioned. Others defended Barron, saying he had every right to vote however he wanted. Even late-night comedians couldn't resist. Jimmy Kimmel joked, "Can you imagine how awkward Thanksgiving would have been if Barron didn't vote for his dad? Talk about an impossible choice." Melania Trump has always been fiercely protective of Barron. Unlike Trump's other children, who often appeared in interviews or on campaign rallies, Melania ensured Barron's privacy. But when it came to voting, insiders suggest she played a big role. Melania is very clear on family loyalty, a former White House aide said. She raised Barron with the belief that family comes first. It's no surprise he voted for his father.
I always respect Barron's yes and no and what he likes to do.
Melania herself hasn't always been political. During Trump's previous campaigns, she kept a low profile compared to Ivanka or even Kimberly Guilfoyle. But in 2024, she was much more involved, especially when it came to Barron. Did she encourage him to vote for Trump? Probably. Did she force him? Not likely. After casting his historic first ballot, Barron joined his family at Mar-a-Lago for a grand election night watch party. Sources say Barron was seated next to Melania, watching the results come in. Unlike his father, who was energized and making calls, Barron remained calm and observant. A guest at the event described the scene. Barron was quiet, just taking it all in. He wasn't on his phone, he wasn't pacing, he was just watching history unfold. As the results swung in favor of Donald Trump, Barron reportedly smiled and nodded, but still, he kept his emotions in check. The biggest question that night, and ever since, is what Barron's future in politics looks like. Many have speculated that he could be the next Trump to enter the political arena. After all, he's already taller than any US president at 6'9". He's had a front row seat to power his entire life. He's seen the best and worst of politics firsthand. But will he run for office one day? Insiders say Barron is more interested in business and technology than politics. Unlike his father, who thrives on the spotlight, Barron enjoys staying behind the scenes. He's an observer, not a talker, one source said. But that could change. He's young and he has time. Even Donald Trump himself has joked about Barron getting into politics. During a rally he once said, "Who knows, maybe one day we'll see Barron Trump running for office. He's got the height for it." While it's too early to tell, one thing is clear. Barron Trump's first ballot was just the beginning.
Really don't believe I would run, but I would like to see somebody as the president.
Number 4. Towering presence at the inauguration. Imagine standing on the world's biggest political stage and still being the tallest person there. Barron Trump's presence at the 2025 inauguration wasn't just a family affair. It became one of the most talked about moments of the day. The cameras weren't only focused on Donald Trump taking the oath of office for a historic second term, they were locked on his 6'9" youngest son, Barron. From his towering height to the speculation about his future in politics, the reactions were explosive. Some were fascinated, others questioned whether this was the beginning of a new Trump era, and then there were those who didn't even recognize him at first. So, what really happened at the 2025 inauguration? Why was Barron's presence more than just a visual spectacle? And did this moment reveal hints of his future? Let's break it all down. January 20th, 2025, a historic day. Donald Trump, at age 78, was being sworn in as the 47th President of the United States. The crowd was massive. The world was watching. But in the middle of all the political excitement, Barron Trump became the unexpected headline. Dressed in a perfectly tailored navy suit, Barron looked calm, poised, and far more mature than the last time the public saw him. But there was one thing that no one could ignore. He towered over everyone. At 6'9", Barron Trump stood taller than his father, 6'3", taller than the security guards, and even taller than the towering Capitol architecture behind him. Observers were stunned. I had to do a double take. That can't be Barron. This kid is literally a giant. He looks like an NBA player next to everyone. Forget politics, when's he getting drafted to the Lakers? Social media erupted with comparisons. Barron Trump is 1 inch away from being the tallest US president in history. Will he break the record someday? We need a side-by-side of him and Joe Biden. I don't think they'd even fit in the same frame. Trump family politics aside, can we all agree Barron should be playing center for the Knicks? The most viral moment came when Barron stood beside his mother, Melania Trump. The height difference was staggering. Melania, standing at a graceful 5'11", looked tiny next to her son. Dressed in a custom navy coat and matching boater hat, she walked arm in arm with Barron as they approached their seats. The image flooded social media. One journalist tweeted, "The best shot of the inauguration. Forget the politicians. This is a moment." Unlike previous inaugurations where Ivanka, Don Jr., and Eric were the family members in the spotlight, this time all eyes were on Barron. Some people started speculating. Was this a signal that Barron is being prepped for a bigger role? Did he overshadow his siblings, creating tension within the Trump family? Was this his official debut as the next Trump to watch? One political strategist commented, "It's interesting that Ivanka and Don Jr. weren't making big speeches this time. Instead, the cameras were following Barron. That says something." Even Donald Trump, who's used to being the center of attention, wasn't immune to his youngest son's unexpected spotlight. At one point during the day, Trump reportedly looked at Barron and laughed, saying, "I should have put you up on stage. You're bigger than everyone here."
And he was saying, "Dad, I got to go out and do this one and that one," and we did a lot of them.
Some pro-Trump commentators saw Barron's presence as a quiet endorsement of Trump's legacy continuing beyond 2025. Others suggested that Trump was proud, but also aware that his son had just become a viral sensation in a way that even he couldn't control. One conservative news outlet put it this way: Donald Trump is a political force, but at this inauguration, Barron Trump became something bigger, a symbol of the next generation. This question came up again and again. Could Barron Trump be the first Trump to follow in his father's footsteps? He's young, tall, poised, and has grown up in the political world. Unlike his siblings, he hasn't been controversial, hasn't been involved in scandals, and hasn't made polarizing statements. That makes him the cleanest slate in the entire Trump family. A political insider weighed in. If he ever decides to run, he already has one thing his father never had: being naturally likable. People are curious about him, but they don't dislike him. That's a powerful thing in politics. Could he actually be groomed for a political career? Some think yes. Others argue he has no interest. Barron has been seen more on basketball courts than at political rallies. He's also said to have more interest in technology and business than policy. Still, this inauguration moment sparked real speculation. After the inauguration, Barron returned to New York University, where he studied business. But his life is anything but normal. Security at NYU had to be adjusted to accommodate him. Sources say that even at school, people stare in disbelief at his height. Will he ever step into politics? Will he use his fame for something else? One thing is certain: he's no longer just Trump's youngest son. This inauguration changed that forever.
I want all A's.
Okay.
Okay, all A's.
Number 3. A young Barron's office visit. What if your child take your kid to work day wasn't in an office, but in a billion-dollar empire? Imagine stepping into a towering New York skyscraper where your father isn't just the boss. He's one of the most powerful business moguls in the world. For young Barron Trump, this wasn't a dream, it was his reality. Decades before becoming a viral sensation at 6'9", Barron wasn't just a little boy navigating the extravagant world of Trump Tower. And one adorable yet fascinating moment from his childhood gives us a rare look at what it was really like growing up as the youngest Trump. Picture this: it's the mid-2000s. Donald Trump is dominating the business world. The Apprentice is a massive hit, and the Trump name is everywhere. But behind the scenes, at the heart of it all, was a tiny version of Trump himself, Barron. In one resurfaced archival clip, a young Barron Trump, no older than 4, enters his father's extravagant Manhattan office. Dressed in a tiny navy blazer, khaki pants, and polished dress shoes, he carries a miniature briefcase like he's been closing deals for years. Then, in the most innocent yet hilarious moment, he looks up at his dad and, with a pout, asks, "I have to go to school now?" The room bursts into laughter as Donald Trump, amused by his son's question, responds with a smirk. Yes, you have to go to school, but maybe one day you'll be running the company. It was a brief moment, but one that fascinated everyone. Even then, Barron was nicknamed Little Donald, not just because of his blonde hair and tailored suits, but because of his serious demeanor and quiet confidence. While most kids were playing with Legos, Barron Trump was walking the halls of a $100 million penthouse. His childhood home, the 58th floor of Trump Tower in Manhattan, with gold-plated walls, crystal chandeliers, and marble floors. Unlike other celebrity kids, Barron had an entire wing of the penthouse to himself. His mother Melania Trump described it as a beautiful space with white walls, airplanes and helicopters hanging from the ceiling, and lots of art supplies. She emphasized that Barron was always creative, always building something. He loves to build. He loves construction like his father. Many wondered, was he destined to follow in his father's footsteps? While Donald Trump was busy running his empire, Melania had full control over Barron's upbringing. Unlike Ivanka, Eric, and Don Jr., who were raised by Trump's first wife, Ivana Trump, Barron had a very different childhood. Melania insisted that Barron was raised bilingual. He spoke Slovenian fluently, had a strict schedule. She believed in structured discipline, had a normal childhood, despite living in a literal palace. She famously never let nannies raise him and insisted on doing everything herself. "I am a full-time mom. That is my first job, the most important job," said Melania Trump. Even when Donald Trump became president in 2016, Melania stayed behind in New York for 5 extra months just so Barron could finish his school year. While his older siblings embraced the family business, Barron was different. He wasn't a public speaker. He wasn't pushing real estate deals. and he certainly wasn't looking for media attention. But growing up in Trump Tower meant one thing: he was always surrounded by power. Insiders say that Donald Trump often hinted that Barron could be the most successful Trump yet. Barron is very smart, he's tall, he's strong, he's going to be something special, said Donald Trump. And yet, Barron stayed away from the spotlight. Even at Trump's rallies, where the entire family stood on stage, Barron always stayed in the background. Was this his way of rejecting the Trump legacy? Or was he just biding his time? Barron holds a unique title in the Trump family. He's the only Trump child who never held a formal position in the company. Donald Trump Jr. took over the business. Ivanka Trump became a White House advisor. Eric Trump ran the Trump Organization. Tiffany Trump worked in law. But Barron? He never had a Trump Tower internship, never ran a family real estate project, and never spoke at any Trump business event. Was this by choice, or was Melania protecting him? As Barron grew older, he stayed out of the spotlight, but the comparisons to his father only grew stronger. He started dressing exactly like Trump: dark suits, long ties, polished shoes. He became the tallest Trump ever. At 6'9", he outgrew even Don Jr. and Eric. He avoided social media, unlike his siblings who love attention. Even today, no one knows exactly what Barron wants to do. Will he enter the Trump business? Will he start his own empire? Or will he completely break away from the Trump name? One thing's for sure, that childhood office visit showed us the first glimpse of a future billionaire or a future wild card.
I believe my husband, this was all organized from the opposition.
Number 2. Family moment on The Apprentice. What if I told you one of the most heartwarming moments in Trump family history happened on reality TV? Before the White House, before the political chaos, before Barron Trump became a viral sensation, there was a forgotten moment from 2006, a moment that showed a completely different side of Donald, Melania, and baby Barron. This was not a press conference, not a campaign speech, not a staged political photo op. This was a rare, raw, and deeply personal moment, and it was all caught on camera. So, why did this clip resurface years later? What does it reveal about the real Trump family dynamic? And how did a simple greeting turn into one of the most talked about moments in Barron Trump's early life? Let's dive in. The year was 2006. Donald Trump was at the peak of his business mogul and reality TV fame. A sleek white Rolls-Royce Corniche convertible pulls up in front of an opulent estate. The camera zooms in. The door opens. Out steps Donald Trump wearing his signature dark suit, crisp white shirt, and gold-rimmed sunglasses. The cameras are rolling. This is supposed to be just another scene for The Apprentice, but what happens next is anything but scripted. Standing at the top of a grand staircase, elegantly dressed in a pink silk blouse and matching headscarf, is Melania Trump. But this isn't just scene-stealing entrance, because in her arms, she's holding baby Barron. "Daddy's coming home. Say hi, Daddy," Melania coos, gently bouncing Barron in her arms. Donald Trump, usually known for his sharp business persona, does something completely unexpected. He smiles warmly, walks up to Melania, and before even acknowledging the cameras, he leans in and kisses his wife and baby Barron. It's genuine, it's rare, and it's completely different Trump than the world was used to seeing. Let's be real, Donald Trump is not known for being overly affectionate in public. Whether it's his handshakes, direct business talk, or no-nonsense attitude, he's always been portrayed as a tough businessman first. But this one clip from The Apprentice showed something else, a family man. In this moment, Trump isn't just a billionaire, a TV star, or a future president. He's a dad. This changed everything. For the first time, people saw a softer, more personal side of him, a side that wasn't about power, money, or deals, but about family. And the world ate it up. This wasn't just a rare Trump family moment, it was Barron Trump's first appearance on national television. At just a few months old, Barron was already capturing attention. People were fascinated by him. Viewers wanted to know more about the Trump family's youngest heir. it was the start of a public curiosity that would only grow over the years. Even Melania, years later, would describe Barron as a mini Donald, saying, "He's independent, opinionated, and knows exactly what he wants, just like his father." From that moment on, Barron was no longer just the Trump baby, he was the Trump kid to watch. Unlike Donald Jr., Ivanka, or Eric, who grew up fully immersed in the Trump business world, Barron's childhood was very different. And that was all because of Melania Trump. She was determined to raise Barron differently. She never let nannies raise him, she did everything herself. She insisted he be bilingual, he speaks Slovenian fluently. She limited his exposure to the media. This was one of the only times he was filmed.
So he asked me for the number, and I said, I will not give you my number.
"I'm a full-time mom. That is my first job," Melania Trump. This was the first and last time Barron was ever casually included in Trump's media empire. After this, Melania kept him out of the spotlight for years. Fast forward to today, this forgotten clip suddenly resurfaced. But why? Because it's one of the only moments of genuine Trump family affection on record. Because it shows a side of Trump that people either love or don't believe exists. Because Barron Trump, now a towering 6'9" mystery, was just a baby in his father's arms. In a world obsessed with Trump's political battles, business deals, and controversies, this clip is a rare reminder that he is, above all, a father and husband. And whether you love him or hate him, that's something nobody can deny. Since this early TV moment, Trump Barron has remained one of the most private and mysterious figures in the Trump family. Unlike his older siblings, he doesn't give interviews, he doesn't run a business, he doesn't seek the spotlight. Instead, he's an observer, always there but never speaking. And yet, every time he appears in public, the world stops and watches. At the 2025 inauguration, his 6'9" frame stole the show. At Mar-a-Lago events, people speculate about his future. And now, with this old clip resurfacing, the internet is once again buzzing about him.
Sometimes you need to fight back, I'm sorry.
Number 1. Penthouse tour with young Barron. What if your childhood home wasn't just a house, but a literal palace in the sky? Imagine growing up in a 3-story penthouse decorated in gold with views stretching over all of New York City. For young Barron Trump, this wasn't a fantasy, it was his reality. Before he became a 6'9" viral sensation, before the political spotlight, Barron was just a little boy growing up in one of the most extravagant residences in the world. And in 2010, the world got a rare peek inside this luxurious lifestyle when Donald and Melania opened the doors of their Trump Tower penthouse and gave the world an inside look at their home and their son. But this wasn't just a tour. This was a glimpse into how America's most famous billionaire raised his youngest heir. The setting, Trump Tower, New York City. Value, estimated at $100 million. Design, inspired by the Palace of Versailles, gold-plated walls, crystal chandeliers, and marble floors. Owner, the most famous businessman in the world, Donald J. Trump. When the cameras entered his 3-story penthouse, it felt more like a royal residence than a modern home. Every corner dripped in gold, from the furniture to the ceilings to the 24-karat gold accents on the walls. "This is the most luxurious home in New York," Donald Trump proudly declared during the tour. And, sitting in the middle of all this extravagance, a 4-year-old Barron Trump playing with his toys, completely unfazed by the over-the-top luxury surrounding him. At just 4 years old, Barron was already different from his older siblings. Unlike Donald Jr., Ivanka, and Eric, who grew up in the public eye, Barron had been kept mostly private. But this penthouse tour was one of the first and only times the world got a real look at him. As the cameras moved through the marble hallways, they found Barron sitting in his personal play area, a massive room filled with toys, airplanes, and helicopters. Melania, always protective of her son, proudly described him, "He loves to build. He loves helicopters, airplanes, and construction, just like his father." Barron looked up from his toy set, then quickly returned to building a mini skyscraper with his blocks. It was a small moment, but one that fascinated people. Unlike the other Trump kids, Barron was raised very differently. Donald Trump was busy running his empire. Melania was fully in charge of Barron's upbringing. No nannies, no outside help, no exceptions. Melania believed in hands-on parenting, a rarity among billionaires. "I'm a full-time mom. That is my first job, the most important job," she said in an interview. While most billionaire kids were raised by teams of nannies, Melania insisted on doing everything herself, and there was one rule that stood out: no social media, no unnecessary public appearances. While Donald Jr. and Ivanka were out making business deals, Barron was living a completely different life, one controlled entirely by his mother. And this penthouse tour, it was one of the only times she allowed the world to see Barron up close. During the tour, Melania led the cameras into Barron's private wing. It was nothing like a typical child's bedroom. Instead, it looked like a mini executive suite, like a smaller version of Trump's own office. Gold-trimmed furniture, a desk that looked like it belonged to a Fortune 500 CEO, miniature models of Trump's real estate empire. This wasn't just a child's playroom. This was an environment built to create the next Trump. Was this a billionaire's way of shaping his son for the future? Or was it just a reflection of the family's wealth? People had mixed reactions. Some thought it was proof that Barron was being groomed for power. Others thought it was just over-the-top luxury for the sake of it. One of the biggest controversies surrounding this penthouse tour was whether it was a genuine glimpse into the Trump family or just another PR stunt. Some media outlets praised the tour. They said it humanized Trump, showing him as a father rather than just a billionaire. Others called it a staged performance, a calculated move to show off Trump's wealth and power. One journalist from the New York Times wrote, "The tour felt less like a home visit and more like a sales pitch for the Trump lifestyle." Trump himself never hid his love for luxury. In fact, during the tour he jokingly said, "Some people like modern, some people like simple, I like gold."
I'm going off. No. Now he's starting shooting. Look at Mr.
The tour did exactly what Trump wanted. It made headlines, got people talking, and added to the Trump brand mystique. Since that tour, Barron's life has changed dramatically. He lived in the White House. He became 6'9", shocking the world. He remains the most mysterious Trump. Despite growing up in one of the most famous families in the world, Barron has stayed out of the spotlight. He's the only Trump child who never worked in the Trump organization. He's never given a single interview. He remains an enigma, always seen but never heard. And now, as he enters adulthood, the biggest question remains: will Barron follow in his father's footsteps? Will he run a business or even for office? Or will he disappear completely, rejecting the Trump brand? This penthouse tour was the first glimpse of Barron's life, but was it also a glimpse of his future? Want more rare moments and untold stories? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a video. Check out our next video. Trust me, you won't want to miss it. See you there.